What's up, everybody? We're back. I'm George Mossey. This is my co-host, Marshana, Dahlia, a 90-Day Fiance, Season 9, Episode 11 has aired. This is Part 2. So last night, we got a pretty intense scene, right? So we check in with Cara and Guillermo, and we find out that his brother, Jose Joaquin, had been suffering from renal failure. And he gets a call that things have taken a toll for the worst, and the worst actually happens. And this kind of opened my eyes because everyone, when they come to America, they're like, oh, you're coming to this great life and you should be happy that you're here, is what a lot of the American side of the people say. But when they leave behind their entire family, their entire life, their entire livelihood, they don't even have the legal right to go back and be by the side of the person of their family who might be sick or who might be going through something. And I think that this really shows the sacrifice from the other end. The couples in America, they're like, oh, I sacrificed a lot. I paid so much for this K1 visa and I'm sponsoring you. And they always talk about their sacrifice, especially Patrick. Patrick likes to talk about his sacrifice. But watching Cara console Guillermo in this situation really showed that there's a lot of sacrifice on both sides.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of sacrifice on both sides. And this story last night, Guillermo, watching him lose his brother, just really struck home for me because my sister passed away in 2016 and she had renal failure for the last 8 years of her life and was on dialysis. So I have seen up close and personal just how devastating renal failure can be and dialysis treatments and how it's not really an answer. It just simply takes the edge off, 3 times a week. So it was very, very triggering for me to watch. So I really feel for Guillermo because at least when my sister died, I was able to be with her, hold her hand, comfort her in those last few minutes of her life and literally just be with her as she passed away. And not only was Guillermo in another country, he wasn't even in the Dominican Republic. He wasn't even at home, and his brother was at the hospital. He wasn't at the hospital. He was you couldn't be further away because you weren't there, you weren't around, you weren't close by, you weren't in the same country. He was so far removed. And it really just genuinely breaks my heart for Guillermo. I think losing a sibling, especially losing a sibling when you're both very young, is just something that really sticks with you the rest of your life. So, my thoughts and prayers to Guillermo, seriously.
I agree. Same with me. My thoughts and prayers are with you. So I want to talk about a trip to Vegas. So Patrick takes Thais to Las Vegas. He kind of springs it on her too. He says, we're going tomorrow. She gets to meet his brother Matthew and his husband Carlos. But what happened at the meeting caught Patrick by surprise because Thais finally revealed that her father, Jose, has no idea that she's in the United States to marry Patrick. And this caught Patrick as a huge red flag. And he said, well, we need to call him and we need to handle this now. And Thais feels this would be something better done after the fact. And, in a lot of different cultures, we ask for permission from the father of the bride to get married. And Patrick was raised that way. And he doesn't feel it would be right for him to marry Thais without the father knowing. But I think in my mind, Thais feels that if she tells her father before, he's going to try to talk her out of it. Is that how you feel?
That's exactly how I feel, and it's exactly what Thais said. She said, "Listen, if my dad thinks that I'm gonna come back to Brazil, he doesn't even believe in this relationship, and that will go the distance. I think if I can come back to him and say, hey, no, look, not only is this relationship going to go the distance, we are married. He married me while I was in the United States because she knows her father is an enemy of their relationship, is an enemy of this whole process, right? He's not an advocate for it. And maybe getting married behind his back will make things worse. But she's gambling on, I have a close relationship with my dad. I know him pretty well. And I know if I can come back to him and say, no, dad, Patrick is so serious about me. He's already married me, that may give her leverage for her father to finally come around and accept the relationship. Now, to be fair to Patrick, I wouldn't want to marry somebody who they didn't tell their family members that they were marrying me. Only bad things happen in the dark, right? Why are you keeping our relationship in the dark? You can actually make me an enemy of your family because they're going to say, oh, this girl married our guy behind our back. And it kind of just seems a little bit, just it just doesn't feel good. But I think Thais knows her dad better than anyone else, and she's gambling on if we come to him with marriage and say that we're married, there's nothing he's going to be able to do.
Well, right. The blessing is out of the question because she knows how he feels. So asking for the blessing, actually, she didn't even realize that people did that. So when Patrick brought it up to her, she was like, why would you do that? So we know that that's out of the question. So I guess springing something on someone is better than giving them time to think about it and find ways to talk you out of it. So we're just going to have to see what happens, because she took Patrick to the little chapel in Vegas and tried to speed up the process, and Patrick wasn't having it. He was like, first of all, your dad doesn't know, and second of all, this is how you marry a stripper.
That's production. I don't believe for a second that Thais, in her own will and volition, was like wanting to get married in a Vegas chapel wearing jeans and a crop top. I just don't believe that. I think that it's production. You guys at home, let me know what you think. I think that the show's producers, knowing that her father doesn't know that they're like engaged, like kind of just did this to create drama.
Speaking of create drama, I want to talk about Ariella and Biniam and apparently Leandro, because Leandro is back, and not just back, but he is all up in Ariella's apartment, all up in Ariella's car. He's crashing the Ethiopian New Year party that they are having for Biniam and Avi. What really got to me was Ariella's mom said, this is a special event because this is a celebration that we get to have Leandro at. And I'm thinking, what do you mean the Ethiopian celebration is special because Leandro will be there? And I just don't understand the closeness of him and Ariella and her family, but they aren't together. What went wrong that they couldn't stay together? If everyone loves him as much as they say they do, what is the actual issue?
But remember when Leandro was in Ethiopia and Ariella was crying over the end of their relationship, and she admitted that she just kind of like wanted to, I think, travel or do something, kind of just upped and left and didn't end things, because she said she wanted to purposely leave things open-ended just so that she could probably come back and just pick up where they left off. She treated him poorly. She really ended the marriage on like bad terms and just like didn't use her words effectively to communicate with Leandro. So I think that that's it right there. You messed up. You missed out. You decided to go to another country and get pregnant by a stranger. Lay in the bed that you made for yourself. Leandro is the one who I'm looking at sideways as well, because it's like, why are you still hanging around your ex-wife? Like, why don't you move along? This is your ex-wife who did you dirty. Like, why are you sitting here breaking bread, literally doing gursha with her husband, baby daddy? And you know, why is her family encouraging it? We all know Benny's uncomfortable with it, and we all know that Ari doesn't care.
Right.
Comfortable with it. That's the sad part. And the thing that kills me the most about this entire thing is the hypocrisy. Ariella is the biggest hypocrite in the world. And you're not going to tell me that this is production, Ariella, okay? Because I know you watch this podcast. This is you. This is you.
Oh, why would he need to go dress shopping? Does Ariella not have one female friend outside of her mom and her sister?
Like, with Ariella, which girl out there, y'all who watch this podcast, y'all want to be friends with Ariella? Ariella has no female friends for a very good reason, but continue.
But like you said, it has to be that because she's taking her ex-husband to pick out a wedding dress. You don't have one, I mean, other than her sister, and her sister has to be there. You know, that's a given. Her sister has to go. And I'm just trying to figure out, why is this okay? Because if Biniam had an ex-wife and he brought her anywhere near Ariella, her son, or her family, this would be all types of a problem. She had a problem with him sparring with Melissa, which is literally practicing for a fight. Nothing sexual going on whatsoever. I'm just trying to figure out, Biniam, why are you still there? I know you want to be in Avi's life, but it's like, how much are you really willing to take from Ariella?
It seems like he's willing to take a lot, because he's made the same mistake twice now, and he's willing to take a lot.
Talk about Jabri and Miona. We saw them have family dinner at Jabri's parents' house. Everyone was there, his mom, his dad, his grandmother, and they finally voiced their concerns on their disapproval of the marriage. And what really irritated me was Jabri brought up that he felt pressure to marry Miona. And I'm thinking, when you purchased the K-1 visa, when you filled out the application, you made a promise to Miona and the government, the United States government and immigration, that you were going to marry this woman. within 90 days. So where would this pressure be coming from other than this dotted line that you signed on the visa?
I mean, it's like no one in this family understands the K-1 visa process at all because it literally the show you're filming is called 90 Day Fiance. So that pressure didn't come from Miona. That pressure comes from the guidelines of the visa in which you brought this young lady here. So that's that. And I agree with Miona. Like if we're not going to get married, then we don't need to do this because if that were the case, why even initiate the K-1 visa process if you were not ready or in a position to walk this all the way out? She's given up so much of her life back in Serbia. So now, if I go back home to Serbia, because if I don't get married to you within 90 days, I have to go home. I'm not kicking this can down the road with you any longer. So why are we here? I agree with Miona when she says, why are you discussing issues with everybody else before you even discuss them with me? If he's not bringing it up to her. I love, though, that Jabri's mom kind of stopped him and was like, you can talk about how you feel and you can talk about, your perspective, but you can't sit here and call her names. Him calling her a microwave millennial, is that not the pot calling the kettle black? Like,
Right.
you're a millennial. You want everything right away. You've been dying to be famous your entire life, and you feel like you finally found your ticket. And so now I really do genuinely feel like I think he really wants Miona. I think he's always wanted Miona. I think he's just so happy to be cast on this show that he's going to feign doubt and uncertainty so that way he has more of a storyline because he's trying to book his next show in the 90-day universe, if you ask me. He wants to make sure he gets on like Single Life or Diaries or I don't know, or Happily Ever After if they end up together. So I feel like he's really trying to make more there than it actually is.
All right, guys, that's it for part 2. I'm George Mossey. This is my co-host, Marshana Dahlia. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you're live tweeting with us every Sunday night. The show was trending this morning when I woke up with 13,000 tweets alone today. So a lot is going on the show. People are talking about it, and I love it. Talk to you all really soon.